Today, I want to talk about the star of Hazbin Hotel herself, Charlie Morningstar, everything we know about her, and whether or not in some ways she's just making things worse, something a lot of fans were worried about after she tried to interfere in Angel's work life in episode 4. My name is Deepcut, welcome back to Cartoon Universe, and according to our channel statistics, only 5% of our subscribers are actually demons, so if you're a demon and you haven't subscribed yet, consider clicking that button. The premise of Charlie was, what if the daughter of the devil was a Disney princess? Something that makes sense considering she herself is technically angelic. The problem with all that is hell is a crazy and horrifying place to her. Not that she can't handle it, but she is meant, at least part of her, to exist in heaven where these sorts of things are just not allowed. Despite how much the sinners love to sin, however, Charlie thinks it's a tragedy that these immortals have their lives cut short through the annual extermination, where the exorcists come down to kill as many sinners as they can. This has led Charlie to try and find a way to get redemption for sinners, to give them a pathway to heaven if they can show that they can be good. Early on, this was said to be to help with the overpopulation issue, leaving more room and resources for everyone else who gets left behind, but in the Amazon series, the annual exterminations are portrayed as more overtly to stop demonic uprisings against heaven. The fear of this was supposedly rooted in Lilith singing to the masses of hell, and while that story may not be the entire truth, as Charlie is reading it out of a sort of children's fairy tale book, it hints at heaven having very violent reactions to perhaps very simple things, something that makes sense considering how the sinners are given the eternal punishment of hell if you don't meet the standards of heaven, which are portrayed as perhaps ridiculously high. This gives the impression that Charlie herself may end up doing more to hurt the sinners of hell than to help them with her plans to get sinners into heaven, which itself could be viewed as an infiltration tactic, or at the very least, the beginning of thinking that there is some way out of their situation other than the death of their immortal soul. Heaven was already willing to squash the idea of rebellion by creating a mass killing event each year, and even with Charlie trying to start her redemption program, Heaven has already agreed to up the event to twice a year, with the first episode of the season revealing that it will be happening again in just 6 months. The decision to come back in 6 months seems to be largely motivated by Adam wanting to avenge the dead exorcists, with him saying that there won't be enough powerful demons left behind to do this kind of damage to an angel. Adam wants to keep the exorcist's death a secret, though it isn't entirely clear who he wants to keep it a secret from, which means Heaven may not know about this and agreed to the second extermination for other reasons, or Adam may mean he doesn't want the sinners to know about this, because it will make them realize that they can fight back against the exorcists, and that this next extermination is in retaliation to that and will be undeniably more brutal as a result. This would only incentivize the sinners to fight back more than usual, with them thinking they should take as many angels out with them as they can if they're going to die anyways with more exterminations. Already, Adam doesn't just find Charlie's ideas laughable, but he takes joy in telling her that they will be back in 6 months despite her attempts to even just help the sinners. From here, things are likely only going to get more intense, with the hotel becoming a divisive part of the issue of the extermination for all of hell. Vox's response was to pledge to make angelic home defense systems, wanting to use Carmilla Carmine's weaponry as a part of it, but he refused to come to her meeting about the extermination, and as far as we know, was pretty fine with Velvet trash-talking her about their options for fighting back. Vox is already against the hotel because Alistair is there, with Alistair seeming to use it to get close to Charlie, but this will lead to Rosie and an entire group of cannibal colony demons to surround and seemingly support the hotel alongside Alistair as seen in the trailer. As the series progresses, this is going to seem more like a good thing, but with each person there using the hotel more so as a way to fight back against the angels, and less as a way to find redemption, Charlie's dreams will ultimately just end up making things worse, just giving them a focal point or a battleground for the overall political conflict of the extermination itself. And to make things worse, Charlie isn't exactly great at making the lives of her patrons any better. So far, the character that Charlie has become most invested in is Sir Pentious, with him being the only one to really play along with her games. At first, it was just an act to infiltrate the hotel, but he doesn't like the praise and attention he got from Charlie and has continued to play along for the most part while still being pretty ridiculous. He is the most shallow character, however, and he has no real redemption in playing along with Charlie. He just gets praise for it. Sure, he's not destroying things anymore, but it's just because he's chasing a different kind of high. Before, he wanted acceptance from the overlords, and now he wants acceptance from royalty. His entire character is captured best in that moment when he is acting out Charlie's script about saying no to drugs and just doing what he is being told to do without really changing his internal thinking or questioning the morality of things. And so far, this is Charlie's success, with everything else going terribly wrong, I would say. Until episode 4, Charlie had focused less on real redemption and therapy and more so on babysitting. What she provides isn't a place where people are truly working on their issues, but where, for the most part, they are too distracted and shepherded to indulge in their vices as much, though they still clearly do and even have their own bar in the hotel. This becomes an issue when Angel has to go to work, where he's not just making adult films, but also indulging in more of his drugs, particularly when Valentino wants him to. One of the big questions I have is, even if the angels would allow a sinner to move into heaven, what would happen to the deals they made for their soul? There seems to be some magic involved there, and I have to wonder if Angel's soul is in some sense obligated to stay in hell with Valentino. Regardless of how this works, Charlie decides that in order to help Angel and move his redemption along, she is going to go to his workplace and start asking Valentino to give Angel more time off so they can do things like trust exercises. So keep in mind, this isn't Charlie even trying to fill up more of Angel's time with some legitimate work on himself, but really just playing more of the games from the episodes before, with the closest they get to doing something serious being when Vaggie throws them into the battlefield together. In the end, Charlie trying to help Angel leads to probably the most intense sequence in the entire season so far, and quite possibly the season as a whole. Angel is very brutally slapped around by Valentino, who tells Angel to get rid of Charlie. Angel begs Valentino not to hurt her, which is a bit confusing considering how powerful Charlie is, with her being on the same level of power as her mother, outranked only by her father Lucifer. Of course, Charlie can be hurt emotionally, and that is what Angel fears the most, something already set up in the previous episode when he went out of his way to stop Sir Pentious from hurting Charlie down the road with his lies. Angel probably knows that Valentino can't physically hurt Charlie, but that instead he can use the power he wields over Angel to make Charlie suffer, by making Angel suffer through their contract. These are things Angel seems to know that he'd survive and handle, but a situation he knows would be devastating for Charlie, such as perhaps making it so Angel can't stay at the hotel at all anymore, taking Charlie's hope away from her, and making her feel like all she does is make things worse, and the problem is she really might be. Later, Angel forgives Charlie, knowing she meant well, and in that way he really does come closer to redemption. Still with miles to go, but moving in the right direction. This echoes his growth in episode 2, which as we discussed was also built around him trying to help Charlie. The problem is that helping Charlie isn't going to get Angel where he really needs to be, and I don't mean for redemption to get into heaven, but for a life in hell without a babysitter around to insist that he stops partaking in all of his vices. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you haven't seen it, go check out my breakdown of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, where I explain how the characters really represent the Five Nights fandom, and really fandoms as a whole. See you guys there.